Samarkand, the jewel of Central Asia, a city renowned for its wealth, culture, and strategic importance. In 1220, it faced an unstoppable force, the Mongol Empire, led by the fearsome Genghis Khan. This is the story of how one of the greatest cities of the Islamic world fell to the Mongols, marking a turning point in the history of Central Asia. The fall of Samarkand was not just a military conquest, it was a clash of civilizations, a moment that reshaped the region forever. To understand this pivotal event, we must delve into the rise of the Mongol Empire, the grandeur of Samarkand, and the brutal siege that brought the city to its knees. This is a tale of ambition, resilience, and the relentless march of history. The story of Samarkand's fall is not just about the Mongols and their military prowess, it is also about the city itself, its people, its culture, and its place in the world. Samarkand was more than just a city, it was a symbol of the Islamic Golden Age, a beacon of learning and prosperity. Its fall to the Mongols was a shock to the Islamic world and a stark reminder of the fragility of even the greatest civilizations. But it was also a testament to the enduring spirit of its people, who, despite the devastation, would eventually rebuild and restore their city to its former glory. In this video, we will explore the events leading up to the fall of Samarkand, the siege itself, and its aftermath. We will examine the strategies and tactics employed by the Mongols, the defenses and resistance of the city's inhabitants, and the broader implications of this historic event. Through this journey, we will gain a deeper understanding of the forces that shaped Central Asia and the world beyond. To understand the fall of Samarkand, we must first look at the rise of the Mongol Empire. Born in the harsh steppes of Central Asia, Genghis Khan united the nomadic tribes under his leadership. By 1206, he had been proclaimed the universal ruler of the Mongols, and his ambitions knew no bounds. The Mongols were not just warriors, they were masters of strategy, discipline, and psychological warfare. Their military tactics were revolutionary for the time, swift, brutal, and highly organized. They relied on their unparalleled mobility, with every soldier trained to fight on horseback, and their ability to adapt to any terrain or situation. The Mongol army was a well-oiled machine, with a strict hierarchy and a code of loyalty that bound its soldiers to their leader. Genghis Khan's early campaigns were marked by a series of stunning victories. He first consolidated power among the Mongol tribes, then turned his attention to the Jin dynasty in China. The Mongols employed a combination of siege warfare, psychological terror, and rapid strikes to overwhelm their enemies. Cities that resisted were often razed to the ground, their populations slaughtered as a warning to others. This ruthless approach earned the Mongols a fearsome reputation, and by 1220, they had already conquered vast territories, from China to the Caspian Sea. Their empire was expanding rapidly, and nothing seemed capable of stopping them. But the Mongols were not just conquerors, they were also administrators. Genghis Khan implemented a system of governance that allowed his empire to function efficiently. He promoted trade, established a legal code known as the Yasa, and encouraged the flow of ideas and technologies across his domains. This combination of military might and administrative skill made the Mongol Empire one of the most formidable forces in history. And it was this force that now turned its gaze toward the wealthy cities of Central Asia, including Samarkand. The Mongol success was not just due to their military prowess, it was also a result of their ability to learn from the peoples they conquered. They adopted new technologies, such as siege engines and gunpowder, and incorporated skilled artisans and engineers into their ranks. This adaptability allowed them to overcome even the most formidable defenses and establish control over diverse and complex societies. As they prepared to invade the Khwarezmian Empire, the Mongols were at the height of their power, and their confidence was unmatched. Samarkand was no ordinary city. Located at the heart of the Silk Road, it was a hub of trade, culture, and learning. Its markets were filled with goods from across the known world, silk from China, spices from India, and precious metals from Persia. The city was a melting pot of cultures, religions, and ideas. Its mosques, madrasas, and palaces were architectural marvels, symbols of its prosperity and sophistication. The rulers of Samarkand, the Khwarezmian Empire, were proud of their city's achievements and confident in their ability to defend it. The Khwarezmian Empire, under the rule of Shah Muhammad II, was one of the most powerful states in the Islamic world. It controlled a vast territory, stretching from the Caspian Sea to the Persian Gulf, and its armies were well-trained and well-equipped. Samarkand, as the empire's crown jewel, was heavily fortified. Its walls were thick and high, and its defenders were prepared to resist any attack. But the Khwarezmian Empire was also plagued by internal divisions. Shah Muhammad II's rule was not universally accepted, and there were tensions between the various factions within his court. These weaknesses would prove fatal in the face of the Mongol onslaught. The Silk Road, which passed through Samarkand, was the lifeblood of the city's economy. Merchants from as far away as Europe and China came to trade in its markets, bringing with them not only goods but also ideas and innovations. Samarkand was a center of learning, where scholars from across the Islamic world gathered to study science, mathematics, and philosophy. The city's libraries were filled with priceless manuscripts, and its artisans produced some of the finest crafts in the world. But all of this was about to be threatened by the approaching Mongol horde. Samarkand's defenses were formidable, but they were not invincible. The city's walls, though thick and high, were designed to withstand traditional siege tactics, not the innovative strategies employed by the Mongols. The defenders, though brave and well-trained, were unprepared for the psychological warfare and relentless assault that the Mongols would bring to bear. As the Mongol army approached, the people of Samarkand prepared for the worst, but they could not have imagined the scale of the devastation that was to come. The conflict between the Mongols and the Khwarezmian Empire began with a series of diplomatic missteps. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan to the Khwarezmian Empire, hoping to establish peaceful relations. But the caravan was attacked, and its members were killed on the orders of a local governor. This act of aggression was seen as a grave insult by Genghis Khan, who demanded justice. When Shah Muhammad II refused to hand over the governor responsible, the Mongols saw it as a declaration of war. Genghis Khan mobilized his forces and launched a full-scale invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire. The Mongol army, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, was divided into several divisions, each tasked with conquering a different part of the empire. The Mongols moved with incredible speed, overwhelming their enemies before they could mount a proper defense. City after city fell to the Mongols, and the Khwarezmian Empire began to crumble. Shah Muhammad II, realizing the gravity of the situation, attempted to rally his forces. But his efforts were hampered by internal divisions and a lack of coordination. The Mongols, on the other hand, were united under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his trusted generals. They employed a strategy of total war, targeting not only the enemy's armies but also its infrastructure and civilian population. The goal was to break the will of the Khwarezmian people and force their surrender. By the time the Mongols reached Samarkand, the city was one of the last major strongholds of the Khwarezmian Empire. Its defenders knew that the fate of their empire rested on their ability to hold out against the Mongol siege. But they also knew that the Mongols were unlike any enemy they had faced before. The stage was set for one of the most dramatic confrontations in the history of Central Asia. The siege of Samarkand began in the spring of 1220. The Mongols, led by Genghis Khan himself, surrounded the city and cut off all supply lines. The defenders, numbering around 50,000, were well prepared for a long siege. They had stockpiled food and water, and their walls were reinforced with additional fortifications. But the Mongols were equally prepared. They brought with them siege engines, including catapults and battering rams, and they had a vast army of engineers and laborers to construct siege works. The first few days of the siege were marked by skirmishes and probing attacks. The Mongols tested the city's defenses, looking for weaknesses. They also employed psychological warfare, launching flaming projectiles into the city and using loud drums and horns to intimidate the defenders. The people of Samarkand, despite their initial confidence, began to feel the strain of the siege. Food and water supplies started to run low, and morale began to waver. After several weeks, the Mongols launched a full-scale assault. They used their siege engines to breach the city's walls, and their cavalry charged through the gaps. The defenders fought bravely, but they were no match for the Mongols' superior tactics and discipline. The streets of Samarkand became a battleground, with fierce fighting taking place in every corner of the city. The Mongols showed no mercy, slaughtering anyone who resisted and taking thousands of prisoners. By the end of the siege, Samarkand was in ruins. Its once proud walls were reduced to rubble, and its streets were littered with the bodies of the dead. The survivors, many of whom were enslaved, were forced to watch as their city was plundered and destroyed. The fall of Samarkand was a devastating blow to the Khwarezmian Empire and a clear demonstration of the Mongols' power. The fall of Samarkand marked the beginning of the end for the Khwarezmian Empire. Within a few years, the Mongols had conquered the entire region, and the empire ceased to exist. Genghis Khan's victory at Samarkand solidified Mongol control over Central Asia and opened the door for further expansion into Persia and the Middle East. The city itself, though devastated, would eventually recover and become an important center of the Mongol Empire. The legacy of the fall of Samarkand is complex. On one hand, it was a tragic event that resulted in the loss of countless lives and the destruction of a great city. On the other hand, it was a turning point in history, marking the rise of the Mongol Empire as a dominant force in the world. The fall of Samarkand is a reminder of the fragility of even the greatest civilizations and the